Welcome to the HOLDO MANEUVER podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Mike. We're two hardworking dads trying to immerse ourselves into Star Wars and fit it into our very busy lives.
If this is your first time listening and or watching, in this sometimes short-form Star Wars podcast, we'll share our thoughts on different topics from a galaxy far, far away. So join us as we prepare to execute the HOLDO maneuver. All right,
You gotta go to Arizona, don't you?
Yeah.
He'll be back. Don't worry.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the HOLDO MANEUVER podcast. This is episode LVI, episode 56. So this week we're going to talk about part 7 of Ahsoka, which is, what was it, Dreams and Madness, I believe. Yeah, Dreams and Madness. So this week we have with us returning Stanford Clark.
Hello.
And then first-time guest, Germain Lussier.
What's up, everybody?
How we doing?
Yeah. And then, as always, Mike is here, there, and everywhere.
Here, I'm there, I'm everywhere.
But your name's not. Yeah, there you go. So, to open up this episode, just kind of get everybody's initial thoughts on what they thought of this. Nice. Of this episode of Ahsoka. So we'll start with Germain, then go to Stanford, then Mike, and then I'll wrap it out.
Did we miss something? Did we forget a step?
Oh, wait, no. Hold on. Guys, did you know what is Senator Xiono's favorite band?
Probably Creed.
Hello, my friend. No. It's Tool.
Oof.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Named after himself.
Yeah. There you go. So now, what was everyone's initial thoughts? Germain, then Stanford, Mike, then me.
Sure. So I'm getting a little feedback, but now it's gone. Perfect. I thought it was a really great episode. I think it's really picked up once Ahsoka kind of got away in the first couple episodes and locked up with Sabine, and since then it's kind of been an uptick. And I thought this episode was a great kind of table setter for the end of the season. It kind of moved all the pieces into place. You know, we finally got our reunions. We finally got our, get to see Thrawn do his magic. We finally got to see Shin and Balin's story kind of move together. And so I thought it was really enjoyable. I just, my main thing was at the end of it, I was like, really only one more episode? Like I kind of see where this particular piece of the story will end, but I think it's just starting to get rolling, and I'm like, I don't want it to end so soon, even though will end in one more episode. So definitely enjoyed it. Had so many cool little Easter eggs and moments, but at the end I was left a little disappointed knowing this is nearly the end.
And then, how about you, Stanford?
It was overall really great. Thought the fight scenes were great. The special effects were really cool. I think particularly through that debris field. Thought everything looked really, really good. Happy that Ahsoka's been reunited. I gotta tell you, I'm a little underwhelmed about how it's been Sabine and Ezra are acting together. It just seems so where they're just like all chill. I mean, I don't know. I think I might be a little more excited or freaked out to be reunited with someone that I've been, wanting to be reunited with for a really long time. But I guess that maybe that's just Sabine just trying to be cool. But that kind of bugs me. It bugged me last episode. It bugged me again this one. But that's so nitpicky. It's really it's been very entertaining. I've liked it a lot.
She still hasn't really dropped that bomb to.
It's like, oh, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe that's part of it. Why she's just being so chill. Anyway.
How about you, Mike?
I enjoyed it. I kind of wish this momentum was there from episode 1 that they've had. Because the first few episodes of the series were just like, okay, what's going on? Like, let's get moving. And then they really picked up the past few. It really feels more like Star Wars than we have in many other series. Very Star Wars-esque. like what Filoni has done with the series and how it's been written and where it is now. Feels like we're back in Star Wars, like true Star Wars, I guess is the way to think about it. I'm with Stanford, and I said it last week. Like, where's like she hadn't seen him in a decade. She was so gung ho to find Ezra, and now it's just like, now what? It's just like,
Yeah. At least Ahsoka gave him a big hug, you know.
so it's we'll see how that plays out, I guess.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good moments in this that I liked, like the lightsaber, like you take it. No, it's yours. You take it. I enjoyed that part. It was good to see, like, having not watched Rebels, like seeing Thrawn's tactical side, like seeing why he is where he is and why he's so feared coming out to light for me was good. Like I enjoyed that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. We'll get going. We'll cut to you now.
Yeah, so yeah, I kind of return the sentiment of like everybody's kind of thoughts there too with I thought the action was kind of paced really well in this episode. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I thought some of the the big like key scenes in here had like good momentum to them, and it helped. Overall, I thought this episode also moved a lot of the story forward, like a lot more than maybe some of the other
Very
episodes
much.
have. Like this one, like really pushed everything
very
to
much.
like where it was going to need to be in the finale. And then like what Germain was saying is like, oh, but there's only one more episode, so what are
Yeah.
you gonna do in that last episode other than, I'm assuming there's gonna be some kind of big thing that it leaves off on, whether they either do another season of this, because this is only like listed as a mini series, so I mean they could always do a season 2, I guess, but whether it goes into the film that Filoni's going to be doing, that's supposed to be like a culmination of like this whole like Mando era, that's supposed to be like
Yeah, say my question is, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and now this, is it all one big thing? Not supposed to be like separate projects? Is it all the
Well,
same story? Like,
No,
I
it
guess,
is.
yes, it is all the same story. Yeah, shouldn't say is it. It's just like the way it's coming together. It's like it's all been one series. is
Well,
what
it's
I'm
funny.
thinking.
This is gonna sound like a name drop, and it is at the same time. But before season 3 of Mando, I would talk to Filoni and Favreau, and I hadn't seen any of season 3 at that point. So I was like, fine, I'll talk about the stuff I couldn't talk about last year, which was Luke and all this stuff. And I asked him about, why were these episodes of the Book of Boba Fett all about the Mandalorian? I was like, hey, we have freaking Boba Fett. How come we don't have? We have the cooler?
Yes.
How come we're doing all these episodes about the cooler version of Boba Fett, the Mandalorian? And they basically said, and it made sense in one way then, and a different way now. Well, we see this as as chapters of a book, and so he's like, if you're reading a book, you with your main characters, and then the next chapter would be the side characters. He's like, and that's how we sort of saw it. Now, I thought at the time he meant the Book of Boba Fett, but now I think he might mean this Filoni verse of of everybody. So, I mean, I don't think we're going to get Mando and Grogu next week, but I do think that they see this all, as one thing. We'll talk about it, but they obviously mention the finale of season 3 of The Mandalorian in this episode, just to remind you, give you a little hit. They mentioned Zeb in this episode, Rebels character, only seen in Mandalorian. So that they keep just seeding in. I think Ahsoka's kind of, and Thrawn specifically are kind of the linchpins. And so, so I that's why this one is kind of being its own thing. But I think maybe in the second season of Ahsoka, or maybe the fourth season of Mando, we'll see a little bit more pollination. Because from what I've heard, this movie, this Heir to the Empire-esque Filoni movie, if and when it happens, would be after another season of Ahsoka and the new season of Mandalorian. So we're looking at years ahead. We're looking at a story that takes place after a bunch more story to come.
yeah, you like bring that up too, is you can kind of get to it, because it was just gonna be the thing that I was gonna say like offhandedly in it, but like because the episode like opens up in Coruscant, and there's that mention there. Well, Sabine, or not Sabine G as well. Hera is having her court appearance there with like Mon Mothma and Senator
D-Bag
Toolbag.
The tool.
But yeah, like we're the where Carson Teva, who's essentially like the Nick Fury of like the Filoni, since he's
Everywhere.
yeah, it's been in like all of the shows pretty much except for
Yeah.
or just because he would have been too. Well, yeah, he wasn't in that one. Maybe he'll be in season 2. We don't know. But yeah, like the whole mention there of Carson's comment on a conflict on Laura and Moff Gideon established that this happened after Mando season 3, not in between her appearance in Mando season 2 and before we saw her in Book of Boba Fett with Luke. Like I had kind of theorized maybe because I thought that would have been kind of a cool way to that way we see like her meeting with Luke like the 1st time, but I guess they could do that in a flashback if they wanted to. But now this like stakes in the sand exactly where Ahsoka is and what's going on within the universe at this point. But yeah, this whole opening scene, like I don't know if there's gonna be like something else in here too with the senator. What's his name again? Senator Zolo. So yeah, like his whole like he's like.
I think he's Secret Empire, personally.
Yeah, and he also, I'm sure you guys have talked about this. You realize he's Kaz's dad, right, from Resistance. Yeah. So I just wanted Kaz to pop up, and it really makes me hate Kaz. And I hated Kaz at the beginning of that show, and then you love Kaz by the end of that show. And now seeing his dad is such an ass, I'm like, oh, I don't like you anymore, Kaz. So I need somebody to come in to be Kaz again.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
He's probably friends with Mon Mothma's either ex-husband at this point or
Perrin.
Maybe still husband. Yeah, Perrin.
Yeah, it's been a long time between the two there. They got to be divorced at this point.
Yeah.
Or he's dead. I bet he dies. He's gonna die. He's totally gonna die.
Yeah. And maybe Mon Mothma kills him. Who knows? Maybe we'll see. The other thing I liked in this scene too, like we eventually get the 3PO cameo in here, which I've seen some memes on this where it says I'm come here on behalf of the visual effects budget. But I liked Anthony Daniels coming in here as 3PO, basically with relaying a message for Leia, and I thought this was like very in character for like what Leia would have done too, like what we've seen her do like in the original trilogy with like how she would help her friends and whatnot, and even like how the little interactions that we saw with Leia and the Rebels within the Rebels series. So I liked that whole thing there, and when Senator D-Bag says this mere droid, and like Chopper's like,
he's ready to throw hands.
Yeah, Chopper's not having it.
It's like, Carson's like holding it back. But yeah, and then 3PO's like mere droid, but
yeah. Well, think about back to Book of Boba Fett, where Mandalorian in season 3, where they go to that planet and there's like the droid bar where they're like they have to be because they treat the droid so badly, and there's a droid bar on that planet. So like Filoni they kind of disrespect the droids. They're kind of more the Senator Xiono than Carson Teva with Chopper. I think they're on the dark side when it comes to droids.
Yeah, I do think that's interesting. Like from show to show, like how they've kind of been, I don't know, if, like humanizing is the right word for it, but like we're like giving more like emotional weight to some droids, and then like other droids will just.
They definitely have included droids in different ways than we have seen.
Yeah, like whether it's like B2 Emo in Andor or forget the droid's name, but the one in Kenobi with like they had the huge hammer.
Ned B.
Yeah, Ned B, the one that like helped to like sacrifice himself in that show. Just like they've had like these kind of like key droids throughout like some of the shows now that I thought has been interesting how they played some more up with like their emotional weight and like others just as like essentially like a red shirt to borrow from another fandom for the droids. I just think that's just a thing to keep note of there with that all. And then I did enjoy this back and forth here too with Mon Mothma and Hera too, kind of setting up a little bit more of like the exact threat that Thrawn is gonna pose to everybody, and I'm glad that like Mon Mothma is like very much like taking it seriously. Like if anyone's going to, you would assume that like she would, out of all of the people there, of the New Republic, she's probably like the only one that I feel is like doing like the job that they should be doing at this point.
Mm.
Because otherwise, that New Republic kind of sucks.
Well,
I
yeah,
love
it kind
how.
of goes back to sorry.
No, go ahead, Mike.
In Andor, there's that scene where they're going like the opera and they have like the just Coruscant resident who's just like completely just going about his life, even though you can tell everyone like the gravity of everything we know was going to happen. They just don't care. Like, does it affect me? Attitude. Like, no, okay. Like, I'm going to the opera. Like, leave me alone.
Okay.
It's
Or
like
even like
that's what that attitude they have in this. Me, like that one dude, like could have is just like we defeated him. It doesn't matter. Like, put it behind us.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I was just gonna add that I like the scene because of the dramatic irony of we know that Hera is completely worthy here, and that it's even worse than she thinks with the Shadow Council that we saw in Mando, with all these different
yeah.
Imperial factions that are around, getting ready for Thrawn to return. We know it's much worse, so she's right on the money when she tells Hera, like prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Where the Senator obviously is not, and you definitely be curious more about like Leia's information, what she has. Not that we're going to really find that out, but something I was thinking about.
That kind of made me wish Carrie Fisher was still around because I feel like they wrote this with the intent of having her in this series. But
Although I wonder if maybe they'll have her daughter Billy Lord, like with the mixture of like what they did with Luke between like Book of Boba Fett. I don't know if she would do that, but
No, I don't think she would. I think they had discussions around Rise of Skywalker about this, and I think, I don't think that'll happen. But
and that's probably why they did the 3PO thing.
Absolutely,
just to
absolutely.
kind of, which that was cool too. And like, and then I guess I feel bad sometimes for people that don't watch the episodes like right at 6 p.m. the day that it comes out, or like the day that it comes out, because I think like a day later they released the 3PO like character poster for it. And
yeah,
even like I think like
just
an
go
hour, yeah,
walls up until I watch it. If I don't watch it right away,
like an hour later after it dropped, they it was like episode 7 available now, and it's like all like these brief clips. But I remember when they did that for Mando, it was usually like a shot of a wall, some grass, like another like scene. But like for some of this stuff, they're just like straight up like showing Thrawn like walking through. Like I don't know, it's interesting how they're promoting this sometimes as opposed to like how they've done like the teasery.
I think it has a lot to do with the time. Obviously, excuse me, this is the first one that they've done at an earlier hour here in the United States. So I think they're kind of buying into it because I think, what was it, the 4th episode when Anakin shows up at the end. I remember looking, and luckily I try to watch it right then so I don't get spoiled. But I think Anakin Skywalker was trending on X or whatever, like immediately. And because most people have no thought about it, they're like just excited. And they're like, oh, Anakin Skywalker. They don't not worried about spoilers. So yeah, so I think Disney's just probably embracing it. They're like, it's out in the middle of the night, it's at prime time. We're going to be talking about it. If you don't watch it, stay offline, and that's your own fault. If you I do think the official character posters the next like day is a little much, but it was like 36 hours. Say it's Thursday. It came out Wednesday. And it's not a huge spoiler. It's not like Anakin in that episode or something like that, or Ezra in the previous episode.
Yeah, that's true. And I will say I've really appreciated this season of Ahsoka dropping at 6 p.m. rather than that midnight, because of the whole spoiler thing where like if it dropped at midnight, I wasn't going to be able to stay up until midnight to watch it.
what's the 6 p.m. crab?
Well, 6 p.m. West Coast, 9 p.m. East Coast. Sorry, Mike.
I gotta wait till 9.
But yeah, I've enjoyed that because like a lot of the other times with like Mando or like Andor, I had like little tiny things spoiled for me that kind of bummed me out that I had spoiled before I got to it, just because of how the algorithm of like how YouTube works, that even if I just went on YouTube to like find music or something to listen to, I would get inundated with like
Bombarded.
thumbnails. yeah, with like, this is why the ending was for that episode. It's like, cool, awesome.
How do you have time
So
to get this out already? Like, come
yeah,
on.
so I've enjoyed for Ahsoka and then upcoming for Loki that the show's dropped at such an early time so that I don't have to worry about seeing all of this stuff before I get to the episode. But speaking of the episode, the next thing that we got to from here was when they cut from Coruscant, Terra, and 3PO and Mon Mothma, we get to a scene where uh, Ahsoka is training with another one of the training holograms that Anakin filmed for her. We saw one of these in Rebels. There was one in that, and then so we see Hayden Christensen again in the Clone Wars era armor. And then we get some name drops of some characters that possibly, I don't know if you may know some of them, Mike, because I don't.
Probably not.
Did you watch the Genndy Tartakovsky like 2D animated series way back?
No.
Okay,
You
so
already
we
watched
get
No
Clone
Clone
Wars.
Wars. I've watched no Rebels.
okay. So yeah, we got the Asajj Ventress name drop. So that's finally gotten her name in live action. Grievous and Count Dooku, and I believe this was the last of like what we had heard in some of the trailers and TV spots they released, where there was like that voiceover from Anakin, one of them, where he's saying, "I believe in you, Ahsoka. You can do this." And I remember when I heard that, it sounded like it was around the Tales of the Jedi era, because it seemed like it took place around basically the episode where he was like training her with basically over and over and over again with getting shot at by the clones, which I thought it was basically going to be that same scene, but it seems like it was just this. And I did like in this scene too, where says practice these often, and then kind of like offhandedly says, or at least more than I do. So I liked that little bit of humor in there. What did you guys think of this whole scene with her training there with the Anakin hologram? I guess we'll go round robin again, depending on who has anything. So, Germain.
Yeah, sure. I'll go. I mean, I thought I enjoyed this scene very much. I totally forgot that there was a hologram in Rebels. I've only watched those through mostly once, so that's cool. But what I did find interesting about it was not only how cool it was to see again even more screen specific Clone Wars Anakin, but it was very interesting how the director and obviously Filoni and them made a very specific point of showing the box of holograms. And I was like, I thought it was the first time, but I guess like Mark said, it's the second time. But either then, I think they put a very interesting importance on that. Maybe she'll come back to a lesson, or maybe it's just an excuse to bring Hayden Christensen back in a second season in a movie. So when they made that point, that to me was very, very interesting. And I really dug that. I also tried to pause and see what else was in her little locker there. It looked like extra sabers. I didn't think it was. It was very interesting, but I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was trying to see what was in her locker too. What a great scene. You know, Hayden Christensen is I think just hit it out of the park with this. And anyway, so cool to see him in the armor again, and you know, I just think Rosario Dawson is really good with the lightsaber. I think she aces it. So it's just fun to see her, even if she's just practicing.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the scene. It felt clunky how her movements. I don't know, like this whole series, when she was like, whenever she's like running or like doing the training scene, it just feels strange. Like I don't know if the way they filmed it just felt clunky in her movements.
All the
Personally.
headgear.
It was a cool scene to have, like she has these lesson plan that she can go back to whenever. And I also was looking in the locker and noticed the samurai mask that Bean wore, and I thought I saw those old the little blaster ball things from the.
Oh yeah, those were in there.
Yeah, that's the only thing you actually can see are the remote droids. Yeah.
We'll probably.
And I thought it was interesting that the holograms were in a wood box.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I'm assuming we'll get all of this stuff as merchandise at Galaxy's Edge pretty soon. Or like you can
Hopefully
buy
I
them
can
as
tell you
like
that in December.
Yeah, like actual like flash drives you can put into your computer. Looks exactly the same.
Yes.
But I mean, there's gonna be a ton of stuff from Ahsoka that they're gonna sell there, because I mean they already have Hera and Ahsoka there now too, and Chopper. So
Chopper.
Yeah, I'm glad. I will say as an aside, I'm glad they kind of dropped the very rigid timeline they were trying to keep in at Galaxy's Edge with
Hmm.
some of the characters there. So
They
I'm
had
glad
to.
that they've
There's no way that could have survived, like, been
yeah.
profitable if they didn't include new stuff.
Although who knows? Who maybe Ahsoka, Hera, and Chopper are still alive around episode 8 and 9. So
We'll never
I guess
know.
we'll see.
Yeah,
Well,
unless they do a Deadpool-esque screen thing where they travel through time and kill off everything that didn't work.
yeah. Although the ghost is present in Rise of Skywalker near the end of that movie, so
That's true. That's very true.
Yep.
and I did here too. I also did enjoy like the back and forth sarcasm of Ahsoka to Hao Yang. Where,
It's the first
yeah,
time. It's the first time you really get that Ahsoka personality this episode
yeah,
Mhm.
in large, right? And I feel like that was what was missing in the first half of the season was the propulsive, more narrative, like you said, Michael, but also, yeah, like Ahsoka that we know from the cartoons is a lot more bubbly, you know, and she's
Yeah.
obviously gone through some shit since then.
Right.
So, but it was cool to see after her kind of, you know, lessons with Anakin in the World Between Worlds that she is
Her
kind
death.
of, yeah, her death. Yes, exactly. That she feels a little bit more light on her feet and happy. And we'll get there. But at the end of the episode, she literally laughs and smiles.
yeah,
And I was like, oh my God, Ahsoka, you can do that. You're not just,
Yeah.
you don't just stand with your hands crossed the entire time.
I know.
Right.
So yeah, she is great in that scene. And her
sad.
and Hugh Yang going back is great.
yeah. I just loved like that whole back and forth with them there, and then like as they come out of the Purgle hyperspace tailgating that they were doing, they come into like basically this huge
Freaking
friggin'
massive
That
minefield. Holy hell.
minefield.
yeah, which I assume had to be like some kind of auto minefield that they set up, and I was like, did they have all of that like on the Chimaera,
Well, I
ship?
guess
Or did they have
forget
it in
which
the Eye of Sion?
which sequel trilogy one it's in, where she goes in the bomber ship and has to like put a detonator or something amongst all those bombs that are like dangling, a la like
Oh,
Last
Je-
Jedi,
in
isn't
Last
it?
Jedi.
yeah.
Yeah, with Rose. Yeah.
So that
Rose
whatever
is
that
the-
ship was that there?
Okay.
But or they had it in the Star Destroyer or whatever the hell it's called now.
I was just worried that in the scene, like it was actually going to take out like a bunch of the Purgle,
I
but
know.
they
That's what
seem
I
to
was
be
Same.
like
thinking about it too.
pretty
They seem to
thick-skinned to
resistant to it, yeah.
There's
And
enough
then they
dead
got-
Purgle there anyway. There's
Yeah,
way
true.
too many dead Purgle there.
And then they got the hell out of there too. You know, right?
Yeah,
They're
they were
really
just
smart.
It's like bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll
Which
be
was interesting, that part, because Hu Yang said something or Ahsoka said something. Forgot who says it, and then the Purgle disappeared, and the other one looks at him like, you had to say something, like they could hear the thoughts of them.
yeah, and that kind of like leaves it up to how now are they going to get back? Are they gonna have to like hitch themselves to like the Eye of Sion somehow, or be inside the Chimaera somehow, or somehow the Purgles come back? I don't know.
My question was, why can't they just travel through hyperspace themselves now that they know the path?
They don't have the power. It needs
Is
a
it
whole
power.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's my understanding, and at least even like visually, if you think about the hyperspace that you see in the regular Star Wars movies with those lines, and now it's like this almost rainbow, and I think that's sort of it's like ludicrous speed in Spaceballs. It's like it goes to plaid, I think, because it's so much faster. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fair point. I didn't think of
Good way
that.
to fit it. Yeah.
I just thought they didn't know where they were because they didn't have it mapped now. But I figured
That's
Hu Yang
the other
mapped it.
thing. That's the other thing. I think they know how to get back. They know where they want to go. The issue is now I don't think they have the means.
Maybe the crab people know how to do some.
Grab people.
The noti.
Nice. So and then like the next thing we see here too is Mike brought it up a little bit earlier was that we then cut to a scene with Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth where we kind of like see a lot more of his technical smarts like
Mhm.
within this episode, kind of seeing like how he's using Ahsoka and like what he knows what she'll do in a way to kind of draw her out and to also be able to locate Sabine from that same aspect. So I thought that was interesting to show that basically to show the people that may not already know like more of like his technical awareness and basically for the greater good of whatever he's trying to. I guess
Right.
the greater good.
He knows how to cut his losses and maneuver and not worry
Yeah.
about things. So like he switches on a dime. He doesn't get hung up.
Yeah, I liked like almost like multiple times with his plans. Morgan Elsbeth is like, but he's like, well, actually, and then she's like, but and he's well, actually, this will do this. And I just liked that kind of like layeredness that they were going here. And then like within the scene too, we kind of as we cut to Sabine and Ezra, she's essentially giving him like the original trilogy recap more or less. So like what Germain said earlier with you get the name drop of Zeb
Of
there.
Endor.
Yeah, you'd be like Battle of Endor. Like, oh, the Emperor's dead. That's what people say. I thought that was funny. I was like, okay, you left it so be like somehow he returned.
Yeah, it was the dead speak. It was the dead speak. That was Filoni's little wink to Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. And then I liked this too with like where Sabine is. Oh, Ahsoka took me on as an apprentice. He's like, wait, she did? I just liked that whole back and forth. What did you guys think of like this whole kind of Sabine giving the recap to Ezra here?
I enjoyed that a lot. I mean, I always like when the characters kind of acknowledge things in the universe that we're especially super familiar with, the original trilogy being paramount there. But like I said, it's fun for Ezra because like we haven't seen him for so long, and you think about how Rebels did jump from him leaving Lothal, and then she's like, after the Battle of Endor, you're like, what the heck just happened? I remember seeing that for the first time and being like, wait, what just happened for this entire, like 20 years or whatever, 15, 20 years. But I'm still, and it's obviously by design, and we already mentioned it, that Ezra still hasn't like pressed, like, wait, how did you find me? And it's just like, oh, it's fine, whatever. Like it is bugging me too, Stanford. Where it's like, come on, it is like this is the key piece. The key piece of information is not what has happened there. It's you're here in a literal galaxy far, far away to find me. How'd you get here? How are we getting out? He keeps saying we're going home. He assumes they have a plan. They have no plan. So like that was the thing that bugged me about the scene is that I was just like, come on. But it's obviously going to be a big moment in the finale when they realize that they're kind of effed.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you, Sam? What did you think, Stanford?
Oh, I love that too. Just what you've all said. Yeah, it was a really good scene.
Nice. And then so like from there to the next thing we get is Ahsoka and Sabine kind of connect with one another through the Force. So this is like
that part I really loved. That always makes me so happy when when Force stuff starts happening.
And this is like really the first time like we really see Sabine kind of visually using the Force in some kind of way, or like you can see that there's some kind of connection to it. Yeah. So I liked that whole scene there too. It felt very reminiscent, obviously, kind of in the way that they shot it, of like Empire Strikes Back with like Luke and Vader there, like feeling their presence of one another, and then obviously like Rey and Kylo within the sequel trilogy to like a little bit of an extent there too. So I thought,
remind me of Luke and Leia too at the very end of the Empire Strikes Back, in a way.
Oh, so it's interesting because Hu Yang's like, you think you have that good of a connection with her, and like bond is what I thought, and I was like, oh, so that's the only reason why they can only talk to people you have a bond with. So that's why Vader couldn't sense Leia or something like that. I don't know.
And Hu Yang has famously said now Sabine was the worst Jedi trainee of all time. So I think that maybe now he might start to realize that, because even Shin Hati said the same stuff. Like she's like, you have nothing, you have no powers. Her powers are Beskar armor. Basically. But yeah, I think this is kind of the first scene here where we finally see that wait, she does have a connection to the Force. She wasn't able to move that cup a couple episodes ago, but she was able to like feel Ahsoka's presence. So yeah, really good.
Yeah, and I had this note I was gonna save it for later, but it makes sense to talk about it now. Is that they've kind of been like peppering it in throughout the season with like building up like this expectation of something with Sabine, like whether it's like lingering on the shot of the cup, or like an episode or two ago where she's like trying to like open the door there, and then like they cut and it's like still like, you know, it's like the room is vibrating and you think it's her at first, but it's actually something else. So I feel like they're doing that to like ramping up to like the certain point where it's going to be the scene in the probably in the finale, probably near the end of the finale, where like she has some huge thing that she needs to do and then just has this, I don't know, like some kind of big show of like force power near the with somewhere in the finale, probably something that has to do with Ezra or Ahsoka, and that we finally like see like this huge, I don't know,
I think it'd be
moment with Sabine
huge though.
using the force. Maybe
don't
not
think
even huge, or just like
something.
her just using, yeah,
Yes,
like or
yes.
maybe she just moves the cup finally. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're. I mean, I think you're on the money there. But yeah, I don't think she's gonna like freaking raise an X-wing out of a swamp. I think she's gonna
No.
raise
Yeah,
a rock. Like you said.
She's not gonna
like raise a rock.
Star Killer.
They move the cup. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not gonna like pull the Star Destroyer out of the sky.
You take it off its Lego stand, then just like
Right.
done, yeah.
I think they're setting it up for Ezra teaches her how to do that, not Ahsoka. Because he's like, I don't need a lightsaber, and he just starts going nuts. Whereas Ahsoka's always lightsaber battling.
But Ezra
So
also
far,
has that,
from what I've seen.
right. Ezra hasn't had a lightsaber for 20 years either, so he's kind of learned to adapt with that.
Right.
He gave
Yeah.
us, yeah.
So I think he's going to be the one that teaches her how to truly do something.
Yeah.
And it's going to be small on like a somehow however they're getting back, it's going to be on the ship. He'll like teach her something.
Yeah. And like with this scene too, like where they're having like that kind of whole kind of connection and the back and forth there. This is also where you see like the Night Sisters, essentially using that connection and sensing that at the same time to basically locate them through like their dark magic with a K, magic with a K.
Muzak, magic.
Yeah. So I thought that's kind of interesting there too, how they were using that there, and then we cut to Balin and Shin
Just being like, bye.
yeah. Then like this whole kind of conversation they had there, he's like, all right, well, this is where you'll take your place with the new empire. And he like leaves her off with like parting words that I thought were interesting as well too, with your pursuit of victory will guarantee defeat. So what are everyone's kind of thoughts or like guesses? I mean, there's a little bit more that we get here with Balin and Ahsoka in a moment too, but where he after he fights Ahsoka, he's like, oh, all right, bye. What do we think is happening like with him? Like what do you think is like his ultimate goal? What he's trying to do in Peridea? Like what is communicating with him? I've seen some theories that I know probably all have probably seen as well too, of who we think he's communicating with or who he's hearing through the Force. But we'll go round robin again to kind of get everyone's ideas of what they think is going on with Balin.
Well, first, Mark, the line is actually "Impatience for
Okay.
victory will guarantee." He says it really quick. I had to subtitle it. You have to you have to watch it with subtitles in my line of work because there's too many proper nouns.
Right.
But yeah, impatience for victory. So he's saying be patient. But I don't know. I haven't really even thought about it. I did. It's like with that. I'm blanking. Merrick. Yeah, it's like with Merrick. I didn't even think. It never occurred to me to be like, who is he? Until you see YouTube and the internet blowing up about it, and then I was like, and so I haven't even thought about like who he's communicating with. I find that a lot of time of people, and I'm saying this on a show that's going to go on YouTube, but I find a lot of people who do that, they just don't understand how to consume art. It's like so everything has to have an answer and it's got to like do that.
Yeah.
It's like. He could just be, it could just be the dark side. It could just be anything. It could be something different. And I mean, yeah, it could be a Palpatine clone. Could it be Snoke? Sure. I mean, absolutely. It could be. But I don't think so. I honestly have no idea. And that's what I kind of love about his journey is I still don't know what is he after. He doesn't want to rule the galaxy. Right. So
Yeah.
what is this power that he's looking after? I'm very curious. And that he doesn't need Shin anymore, or doesn't want her there. It's very intriguing to me. Their relationship since the first episode has been my favorite thing in the entire show. I love the new characters, and that scene really spoke to me because it gave us so much about them, but it also kind of like put an end to the story in a way too. So I was like, oh my God, this stinks. I was like, give me the Shin and Balin show. So I guess we'll see. So to answer your question, I don't have an answer, but I think the answer is probably less important and probably not what people think. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be so interesting to find out, because same thing. It's really been a good mystery. And I'm with you, Germain. I want the Bale and Shin show. I wish that would they should have their own series. But and I'm also just so bummed about Ray Stevens' death. Every time I see him, it's like, dang, he's so good in this. I'm so sorry.
Right.
I'm so glad that we have this, but so sorry that we don't get more. But anyway, I digress. But I wonder if he wants like a third thing. So he doesn't want to be a Sith. He doesn't want to be a Jedi. But maybe there's like some other thing he wants. I don't know. I keep racking my brain. I'm being really excited. I hope we get more info before the end of the next episode.
Just some kind of like true balance of somewhere exactly in the middle.
Yeah, in the middle.
The light and the dark.
He wants to go to that cabin with Grogu and Din and just sit there and play the banjo.
He wants to be that third political party, or something. I don't know.
No,
he's independent.
I don't know where it's going with them. I enjoy their story. I don't need to know where it's going. If I had to make a prediction, the more I think about it, all Jedi Masters seem to be like leave their Padawan unexpectedly. This is the first time they've made the choice and been like, you're on your own now, you're good, instead of just being killed.
Yeah.
So that just seems the way
that's a good point.
We've seen the Jedi story told is the Master just disappears all of a sudden, even though they have the trials and all that stuff they're supposed to go through. But in the story we've seen, they get killed and they just become ghosts, or they're just Yoda and they get sick of Luke's questions and just kill themselves. But
or they betray their master.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm sure somebody listening will say there's been an instance, maybe in a book or something.
Oh yeah, most likely in a book or something.
But yeah, of a master and a princess willingly kind of separating. I mean, it's obviously happened because Qui-Gon and Dooku still exist together, and Dooku and Yoda still exist together, and sort of that lineage back from Ahsoka, they're all still around. So they're all
it's definitely happened.
Right, but Dooku did become a Sith, but I guess that's it. So I think maybe,
I guess, even kind of like Ahsoka leaving Anakin.
Right, that's true too. So there really never has been as clean.
Maybe this is the galaxy where all the Force ghosts go, and that's what he hears. All his friends having a party.
There you go.
And he just wants to go.
I will say that I've liked.
Summer.
Nice. That I've liked the very subtle thing this whole season 2 of them not having red sabers but having orange, so it's not like fully, like they haven't fully bled the crystal. It's just kind of got a hint of white in there still. So, but during the scene too, we kind of get this big action scene where it's edited, where it's a cutting on the pretty look. What were they called again, Terrain?
The Noti.
The Noti. So the Noti. We were calling them the hermit crab hobbits.
Yeah.
It came true in this one because they started throwing pans and rocks and things like the hobbits do.
Should have called them I called them the Eroks instead of Ewoks.
Yeah, they totally are Ewoks to me too. I love that Ewoks.
Yeah. Which it also looked like Ezra taught them how to use the slingshot too, because when
Ezra used to have the slingshot. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So we saw some of them using slingshots there, and I liked this like cutting back and forth here with all of them, with Baylan, Shin, Ezra, Sabine, and Ahsoka, like between Ahsoka and Baylan's duel up on the hill there, kind of like her kind of using essentially misdirection for him so that she could kind of do the duel with him, but then head out there and made Mike happy because she used 2 of her sabers.
It made me happy and furious at the same time because it brought me back to the original battle between them where she only used 1. And I'm just like, why didn't you use 2 the whole time? Come on.
Different fights call for different fighting.
Because that's her fighting style, and everything I've ever seen is 2 sabers. And
no, wait, I get what's that? 2 sabers with them. Those are my Ahsoka sabers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And then like the thing here too with like I liked the banter between Ezra and Sabine during this. Like, do you take the saber? No, I don't want it. You take it. And I was like, the force is my ally. It's all I need. And then I liked to I mean, obviously more people came, but like 10 minutes later, then he is using a blaster at that point after he get like force pushed into like the side of one of
And we
the.
got a brief moment of Sabine using a lightsaber in one hand and a blaster in the other hand, which never really happens in the stuff, but does happen in Jedi Survivor. You're able to do that with Cal Kestis. So I was talking to my friend, and he was like, "Why doesn't she use a blaster and a lightsaber at the same time? Nobody's done it in this stuff." And then she had for like 1 second. I was like, "Yes, that's so cool."
Yeah, I love
But it was also
that, too.
but it was one of the best sequences in the whole show. My friend Matt Singer works for Screen Crush, wrote an article last week about how none of these episodes really use parallel editing, where you kind of cut between two things, which the Star Wars original movies do so well. And this did it real and to great effect, where you had
Yes.
Balin and Ahsoka, boom, oh my god, Sabine and Ezra versus the bandits, boom, great. Shin comes in, fantastic scene. And you're like, where's this been the whole time, guys?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably
I
felt
love
more
that,
Star
too.
Wars than anything this episode.
Absolutely, you said that
far.
before. That's right.
Yeah,
And
that
like, well, and speak. Oh, go ahead, Stanford.
No,
go
please.
ahead.
I just say that just because this kind of the parallel editing was so great. That was. I just felt like I was watching like a new version of Return of the Jedi. You know, it was so
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Loved it.
I was just gonna say that Ezra's original lightsaber is still the peak blaster saber combination because the saber was also the blaster, and I still think that's the coolest lightsaber just because he was like, oh, I'm gonna use this blaster, and now it's a lightsaber.
Yeah,
But the other stuff that I liked in here too is again like a little bit more of the Huyang Ahsoka banter during this, uh, and then in here too, uh, I liked as like during that fight when Ezra was fighting Shin, uses the Force to like push back her saber, and I can't think of exactly if we've seen that before, maybe other than in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series with Vader doing it to Reva. And I know we've seen Kylo do it with like a blaster bolt.
Yeah.
That's like the
That's
two
what I was
closest
thinking,
like
I guess.
equivalents that I can think of. But it was a really cool visual to see like Ezra pushing against back, and you could just kind of see like it's not really a flame, but like the light and the like the residual effects of
Vibrating.
the saber like vibrating a little bit, extending back towards Shin. A little bit kind of like you would see like a flame when it's getting blown by like the wind. I thought that was a cool kind of like visual thing to show there. And then when more of the night troopers come in there, we get more of like Ezra's kind of like comedic timing that he's had when he was younger, and then now in this too, he's like, I don't know, maybe guys we could talk. You talk, take us prisoners, eh, eh, eh. I liked that whole bit there, and I think Amanda Esfandi is doing a fantastic job bringing Ezra
Live
to
action.
life in live action as like an older version of the character. And I don't know if we'll ever see like what happened with like him and Thrawn like on that planet within that whole
That's what I've been wondering.
time
It's
period.
like they're just they get there and just
yeah.
well, you got that half the planet. I'm gonna stay over here. Just never shall our paths cross.
Never the
One of
twain
the
shall meet.
Yeah.
one of the things I didn't read about or see in kind of the wider world of Star Wars craziness is I think Ezra's like chainmail type thing is made of like parts from
Oh.
the stormtroopers or something, right?
That'd be pretty interesting.
I think it is. So I think he's been kind of like fighting off Thrawn's minions for a while, and I think probably Thrawn just gave up because he's like, "What am I doing here?" One of the things that he keeps talking about is resources,
I've
because
lost
he's so
2
smart.
legions or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Super
He,
tactical.
he's like no, just bring them back. I can't afford this, or I can't send more people out to do this. So I think he and Ezra probably had a little tete-a-tete for a while, and then they probably just called a not a truce, but a pause in the action, and now we're back at it. I think we'll see them show down next week. I really hope so.
I hope so too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next bit we see like Huyang is happy to see them all together. I like, again, we talked about it a little bit, but I like seeing more of like this emotion like within Huyang and like like no one's in the ship with him, but he's saying like he's happy to see them all back together, and hopefully that he lives long enough to see the
Mm.
outcome. So I just like that because he's not talking to anybody, so I just like that that's like for himself, you know.
It's
But
an inner monologue.
yeah, and then like we cut to Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth again too, and going back to what I said earlier, where she's like, "Oh, but this is happening." So like, but actually, the enemy was distracted this entire time, so the cargo loading is almost complete, and Ahsoka's lost the one thing that is the most valuable. She's lost time. Um, so again, we see more of his like tactical kind of know-how there, and we then cut back to Ahsoka. There we get the see her offering to help Shin. That's interesting, and I've seen some people theorize that maybe she'll take Shin on as an apprentice, and then Ezra will end up taking over the training for Sabine.
I think he's taking over Sabine's training personally, but I don't know about Shin.
I don't think Shannon's gonna turn. I think either her or Balin's gonna die. I'd imagine.
right.
I hope not, but probably. And but I think that moment was also a key moment for sure, because now it does set up that Ahsoka sends something in her. So I think probably so. Then now that I think of this, it would be sad to see Balin die, because A is great and B because Ray Stevenson's actually dead. But it would make more sense for him to not get what he wanted and to Shin kind of continue his legacy, especially now that she's got a little bit of history with Ahsoka and Ahsoka sent something in her. That feels like a ripe kind of story to pull at for future seasons / movies, that's whatever.
Yeah, and Shin's like really taken off in popularity, at least with like everyone that's been watching this. She's definitely been one of the standout characters, like her and Balin, but they've definitely been two of the very key standouts in this throughout this whole season too. And then we get the reunion of Ahsoka and Ezra here too, which is the first time they've seen each other since Ezra saw her in the World Between Worlds back in season 4 of Rebels. And like you said earlier, Jermaine, they hug and she laughs. And I was like, man, that felt good to hear Ahsoka laugh again, where like I liked how essentially the whole episode of like her in the World Between Worlds training with Anakin essentially, and like becoming like Ahsoka the White, has essentially washed away a lot of what was like her past trauma in a way, or is allowing to her at least deal with it in a healthy way, so that she's able to be happy and be mindful in different ways and use maybe the Force in different ways than she would have before, because she's now a little bit more enlightened there.
In different ways than the Jedi have, because she's not a Jedi. I mean, it's easier to call her a Jedi, but she's not a Jedi. So, what could happen with her? So,
yeah, that could,
she's a Boken, whatever that word was.
Oh yeah, Ezra is the Jedi. But like, what did you guys think about like this reunion between Ahsoka and Ezra here? Because I know some people weren't as happy with like the Sabine Ezra reunion that we got last week. So I guess as compared to that, what did you think of this compared to that?
It's obviously.
Go ahead, please. After you, Jermaine, please.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was like, I've been going first. So no, it was definitely more emotional because just the way it was edited. You know, Ezra kind of coming in from the back was a nice thing, but I think Sabine was so surprised that it played a little like less exciting for in the show. I cried because I was so excited to see Ezra. I knew it was coming, but just to see him as a Rebels fan, I've been waiting 5 years for it. So that was cool. No, but it was nice. I felt like they had like a mutual respect, like Ahsoka could sign a sense that Ezra, since she's seen him, has really grown up and become, like almost a full-fledged Jedi, unlike her even. So yeah, it was nice. And like I said, Mark, you're on the money there with she's much more unburdened with whatever she'd been carrying. Maybe it was this responsibility. Maybe she thought she was like, do I have to do this all myself, We know now that she knows Luke is still out there at the moment, all these things. Grogu. So yeah, maybe she's finally kind of focused on herself, become one with herself. So yeah, I enjoyed the reunion. I enjoyed all those reunions because there were things we were waiting for from day one of Ahsoka. We're like, oh, it's this Rebels season 6 or whatever, 5 and whatever one it was. And now we want to see this. And it took 7 episodes of 8 to get to.
You finally got there. Yeah, I echo what Germain said. I thought that the reunion with Ahsoka and Ezra just hit the emotional notes better. Again, as I was just told earlier. And maybe it was the editing, maybe it was the acting, maybe it was the script. I don't know. But just Sabine was just being so chill. Just like, you're not, I don't know. It just seemed almost like, it didn't work for me, at least expecting, because the buildup is, that's what we've been wanting to see.
Yeah.
So, but still, yeah. I'm glad that we finally had the payoff, and it's great.
Right. It just made me wonder why the choice was made to have Sabine be chill.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm so with you, Mike.
Like, maybe they'll hint at it, or it's just something they'll go unexplained. They're just why was she just like, oh hey, there you are.
Hey,
I think it's guilt.
Just like playing all coy, like
guilt is probably the right answer.
Yeah, that doesn't make it any less satisfying. That makes it doesn't make it any less satisfying if it works. But yeah,
just because they did have like that lingering shot in the last episode too, or like after, and she's like, and then
arms folded or whatever you do.
Yeah, more or less the last line of the episode is, guys, I've got a feeling I may be going home after all. Is that with it? As Ezra says. Really,
sorry, Ezra.
Really,
not true.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I was like, you jinxed it because you said that.
Right.
That reminded me really quick is that when she was giving him like the lowdown on essentially the original trilogy, did she say anything about Jason to him? Because that reminded me of Jason's line earlier. He's like, I've got a feeling, he didn't say a bad feeling, but he's just,
yeah.
Because I feel like that would be a very interesting meeting.
He didn't know.
We don't know if she ever met Jason.
Yeah. Did he know she was pregnant?
The Jason thing is a little murky because when we see him for the like one shot in Rebels, he's like 4 years old or something, but it's been like 10 years. So and Kanan's been dead for a long time. So it's a little murky of exactly how old he is or how that happened. And maybe Twi'lek pregnancies take a long time to come to fruition. We don't know. So yeah, it's not clear if he even knows as Hera has this Force sensitive kid. But I don't think they mention him. That's another storyline, by the way, that I was very excited to see in Ahsoka with Jason Syndulla, and it's there at least, but it hasn't been explored it's been like a minuscule amount.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, just a little. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this seems like a good spot to wrap up the episode too. So, like, going into the finale, you don't really have to say like what expectations, because expectations lead to disappointment. Disappointment leads to the dark side.
Heard that.
Yeah. So, I guess, what have you enjoyed, and what do you think you'll continue to enjoy if you see it in the finale, as a way to kind of ask for expectations without expectations? So Germain, Stanford, then Mike, and then after we do that, everyone can give their plugs.
Cool. I just want to see, like, obviously they're not going to defeat Thrawn in the next episode. It's not, none of that's going to happen. I just want to see this story wrapped up. Like Star Wars movies, have an ending. They're not, even when it's a cliffhanger, it's an ending. And I want to see this have an ending. I don't want us for the next 2 years just to be talking about like, oh, I can't believe this and that. I want to, you can speculate about what's going to come out, but I want this arc to have had a purpose. I want that purpose to be like Thrawn escaped and that's it. Like, I want the characters to have learned something. So if there's some sort of actual closure to this season, to this story, I'll be satisfied no matter what it is. and looking forward to seeing more of all these characters, because I love these characters, and have loved them for a long time. And even when the episodes aren't great here, I'm so in the bag for Ahsoka and Ezra and Sabine and Hera that I'd watch them, stand still for 45 minutes, and I would be like, rah rah Star Wars. So yeah, so that's my hopes and dreams for the finale of Ahsoka.
Nice. How about you, Stanford?
So I've wondered if Thrawn is just going to continue to be the big bad of the Filoniverse movie, if we're going to get that movie, and so maybe Thrawn's going to escape. I'm hoping that there is going to be some kind of closure, if they're that they're going to at least be able to maybe get Ezra home, or at least start getting Ezra home. And I'm just hoping for something satisfying. I also want, I don't know, I guess I kind of want some cool battle with Ahsoka and the Night Sisters. Like they're going to start doing their green, whether, that comes, just like they're really, something really gnarly there. So anyway, I'm hoping it's going to be good.
Nice. And then how about you, Mike?
I'm just hoping the pacing keeps up and we don't go back to the slow pacing. Well, I have theories. I think that they'll get stranded and they'll have to do that thing Grogu did in The Mandalorian to send a beacon out for call to someone to help them. They have enough Jedi there now that they can probably make a powerful one. Yeah, Thrawn's not gonna get defeated. If anything, his plan will be hampered in a way that he conceived would be there, so he could get away.
Right.
No, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm glad it picked up and got going where it is. So I just want more of that.
Yeah, and then for me, I would actually be okay if it had like similar to like an Empire Strikes Back ending where it like ends on a downer. In a way, because it feels like it's heading in that direction anyways. As long as it has like a good like emotional payoff for the characters, I don't care if like the actual story has like a resolution to it, just as long as like a character arc has like a resolution to it. That's mostly what I would like to see, is like either Sabine finishes like her character arc from this season. We see like maybe like Ahsoka finish hers, and then like you guys were hinting at with Shin and Balin, probably like the culmination of what they've been trying to do all season there too. So that's kind of, I just want to
kidnap someone, put them out, and then I don't know.
We'll see. But yeah, so that'll do it for us, and then from here we'll go to people giving their plugs. So we'll start with Germain. Where can everybody find you online?
Well, before that, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So fun. And yeah, you can find my work at io9.com, and I am still on Twitter/x.com for now at Germain Lussier, and I'm at Germain Lussier on Instagram and other various places. But yeah, thank you so much.
Nice. And then how about you, Stanford?
I am sort of on X/Twitter at Stanford Clark. I'm also on Threads and Blue Sky. And then I've got a movie podcast and blog at moviespastandpresent.com.
Nice. And then Mike, this is your favorite part of the episode, as ramping up to it. Not there quite yet. But
just a taste.
Yeah. You can leave us a review on the podcast catcher of your choice if it allows you to do so. Helps us out a lot. You can find the show on social media, on Twitter. I'm not going to call it anything else ever. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at HoldoPod for all 4 of those. You can find Mike and I individually on Instagram and Twitter at our first and last name. And then our editor, Vactor, Vactor wanted me to tell you, Germain, that he loves your print and poster collection immensely. So he just wanted to give you that shout out for your print collection.
Thank you. And I have very little of it in this angle, but every other angle, it's everywhere. So.
Yeah, it's impressive. Maybe I'll put as one of the suggested videos of like you've done of like tours in the past of all your prints.
Those are all old, but yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
I'm due to do a new one, but it would just take so long to shoot the house I've been living in for the last couple of years that is just too much work. And you thought during a pandemic would have been a good time, but it is not. Eventually.
Well, as Vader would say, it's impressive. Most impressive.
Most impressive.
Thank you.
And then here's your favorite spot. Like, as always, we are grateful to George Lucas for creating the Star Wars universe.
Oh dear, thank the maker.